a butcher, a baker, a cursed doll maker? Origin stories and spin-offs can be good if made with the right hands, but what happens when those hands are attached to a person willing to make a deal with a demon? The year's 2023. This is their story. Welcome to the Mostly Pot Out at Night. Mostly, I am Gabriel, joined by my co-host Salem.
Hello.
This is episode 58 of our weekly All Things Horde podcast. Join us as we throw the cursed doll away for the fourth time. I know it happens a lot more in the movies, but this is essentially 4 movies that exist with Annabelle, the topic for this episode. We will be covering Annabelle, Annabelle Creation, and Annabelle Comes Home in preparation for The Nun 2, which at time of this recording comes out in a couple of days. So we'll do our normal spiel. We'll go with quick recaps, just like we did for The Conjuring last time. Very quick, because we have to get into the meat of these movies because, well, Salem and I have some issues with these movies, to say the least. Right?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a wee bit. And our out of 10s this week are useless crucifixes, because religious iconography is still kind of everywhere in the Conjuring universe. And I do have to make a quick correction from last week. I assumed the Conjuring movies were PG-13 because not much happens, no one dies. I was incorrect. They are in fact rated R for scary sequences. The only movies that have ever been rated R for scary sequences, with no cussing, nudity, violence, gore, or anything.
Right, yeah, rated R, because there's demons in them.
Yes, therefore, demons scary, R rating for you.
Yeah, even though they're demons light, L-I-T-E, light. They're not really demons.
Correct. We have cantankerous old chimney sweep and the world's dumbest demon.
Yeah. That's the only thing that'll defeat you is by knowing your name and being controlled. So what do you do when somebody asks you your name? Just give it to them.
Right.
Fine.
Yes. Because we all know demons are Mr. Mxyzptlk from DC World. That just say the name, but in his case, backwards, he disappears. Anyway, let's get into our first movie, Annabelle, which came out in 2014, I believe, a year after the first Conjuring movie.
Right, so it's the second movie in the Conjuring universe, as they call it.
Yes, where we are essentially shown, my goodness, the same part of the movie 3 different times. It's like watching Martha and Thomas Wayne getting killed for the 8th time in any Batman movie.
No, it's like Basket Case. How they literally show the surgery scene in every movie.
Yes.
And like the full thing. So it's like 5 minutes long.
Yes.
Yeah, that's basically what we get in the same thing. But they add in like little parts. And you can tell because they always like cut away to like the doll. And you can hear like it's clearly someone else's voice trying to sound like the original person saying extra things. And they're just kind of pointless. I don't know why they bother.
Yeah, so essentially the Conjuring 2? No.
With Annabelle? I think that was the first one.
Yeah, so they met with the nurses and like, oh, we'll take this doll. How'd you get this doll? Well, let me tell you a story. And then it just fades off and we don't hear about it. Here's the movie that continues from that fade off.
Yeah, essentially.
But this movie takes place 12 years prior. So it's like 1960.
60s. Yeah, I don't think they give us a clear definition, but I would say like probably early 60s, I guess.
Yeah. We are introduced to John and Mia, and they're in church essentially with their neighbors. Their pastor is the guy from Stargate SG-1. He was also in Jedi Survivor. I don't remember his name, but you'd know him if you see him. They're talking about all this expectancy and stuff like that. John gets Mia a doll because she has an obsession with dolls, and I'm just going to point out right now, this Annabelle doll is like a coveted thing in this world where everyone wanted to get one, but they're so rare that they're going to be short on rent for a doll. Which the next movie kind of just throws that idea kind of out the window.
Well, I think he was being like, he was being dramatic, just to try to upplay how much he cares for her and how much he paid for it. I highly doubt he paid that much.
Yeah. So anyway, night comes. They hear a scream next door. They're kind of watching. Just a good hint. They're listening to the Manson family findings on the TV. And their neighbors, they hear screams.
This is the original one now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, what do you mean the original one? The first one?
Yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, because, if they're talking about the Manson family murders, that would be 69. So
correct.
That would be late 60s.
Yes. Oh, you know what? Annabelle Creation is 12 years prior. You're correct. Yeah.
Right. I was confused. Yeah. I was like, wait a minute.
I think there's only like a year or two between this and Conjuring 1.
That's fair.
So anyway, it turns out the neighbors are getting murdered. The neighbor, John, goes over to investigate, covered in blood. This is the late 60s. They don't lock the door still. And cultists break into their house. Mia gets stabbed. Well, she's very, very pregnant, stabbed in the side and kind of knocked out. Cops come in, shoot her, and a woman is holding the doll when she's dead, and was nice enough to smear some blood into a ruin on the wall as she died. Anyway, they check out the baby. The baby's fine. They eventually, she eventually, gives birth. She's like, hey, this isn't cool. Oh no, sorry. She gets bedridden, put in bed rest. The house almost burned down because of the stupid, stovetop microwave or stovetop popcorn. As always, the stove magically turns on by itself. She starts seeing weird things.
An electric stove. Don't forget
right.
It was just an electric stove.
Yes. And essentially their house burns down because of popcorn. So not only did their neighbors get murdered, crazy people stab you, and your house burns down, that's getting an apartment.
Well, okay, if you leave popcorn on the stove, will it burn? Yes. Will it launch flames to the ceiling? No, it will. It will.
Yes, there are 5-foot flames coming from the top of the
right. It's not full of like methane and gasoline. Like I don't know what they think popcorn is made out of, but like, will it burn? Yes. Will it smoke? Oh, yes, it will. But it will not. Flames will not shoot out of it. And if they do, they're not going to be 6 feet high to touch the ceiling.
Are you saying the late 60s popcorn wasn't filled with paint thinner and old newspapers?
It may have been. It may have been in the 60s. I know they didn't care all that much about health and stuff. I mean, it may have been filled with asbestos. I don't know.
Right. But it's like the world's most flammable house and popcorn in existence. So anyway, they're like, hey, this is working. She ends up giving birth to getting like a really nice apartment. She meets kids, and then spooky stuff starts happening. We start seeing stuff behind her. We start seeing the woman that was shot to death in their house, kind of moving the doll around. Eventually they go, this is crazy. We get the priest involved. He's like, the doll is evil. She wants to learn a little bit more about the satanic cult. It's like, well, they weren't really worshiping Satan. They were more trying to summon stuff.
Well, okay. At least in this movie, they try to like downplay it a little bit. Like, okay, relax with the cult stuff. That's not real. Like, that's basically what he says. And I'm like, thank you. I mean, yes, this is obviously they still push the other stuff a little hard, but at least at this point, it's like, okay, thank you with the, stop, pushing up this cult angle that people are always pushing up. It's one of the things. Well, we'll get into it
Yeah. She befriends the local bookstore. I don't remember her name, but Cottonwood's cousin from Luke Cage. Right? That's her.
Yeah. Well, she was like the leader before Cottonmouth came around.
Yeah. Was it Maria or something like that? Regardless.
I don't remember.
So anyway, she's like, oh, yeah. Hey, I would have a daughter that's your age. And she doesn't look old enough to have a daughter Mia's age, quite honestly. She's like, hey, all this stuff, if you ever need anything, let me know. I know you're looking here for stuff. Then they get the priest involved. He's like, this doll is evil. Go ahead and take it with me. He starts driving home, listen to a ball game. Oh, man, he's on the bridge. The radio starts flickering out. Oh, what's going to happen? Nothing. He gets to the church, and as he parks, we find out the daughter's name was Annabelle. She was estranged from the neighbors, and right as he's about to step in the church, he gets yanked the crap out of him because he has to stop like 3 times before walking in the church, and they're just like running in to get to a holy place. And then he is in the hospital because he is old and was flung back like 10 feet down the flight of stairs. He essentially tells John that the demon wants a soul, and they assume is going to be what, Ellie? Is her the baby's name?
So yeah, I think so.
Something like that. Mia and Ella, I think. Like, oh no, she won't let that happen. How can we stop this? And we get introduced to the idea of Mia is watching the doll. All of a sudden, it kind of floats up. And what's wrong with the doll? Well, it's not the doll itself. It is the demon that's holding it. That has been making things a little bit spooky around their house for a bit.
I mean, he seriously looks like a blue man.
Yes.
Like, I mean, he's not blue. He's like black, but like that's the vibe he gives off.
Yeah. So it's the doll is just a conduit. It's not really the doll itself.
The doll is so cool that even demons want to play with it. Exactly. I mean, they have to pay rent too. They can't just go out and buy the doll. Well, they're inhuman spirits that have never walked the earth. They can't come here to play with dolls.
Right.
So they have to wait till one gets cursed so they can come and play with it that way.
Exactly. So anyway, mass hysteria starts ensuing in the apartment. They can't find the baby. The book lady comes in. She's like, oh, we'll stop this together. It's like, oh, I want her soul. And the priest tells John's like, hey, he doesn't mean the baby. He means your wife's like, what? And the demon's so powerful, he can mess up landlines.
Of course. I mean, this is the 60s. It doesn't take...
I mean, someone could sneeze at the landline. It would jump to another connection.
Excuse me, can you disconnect yourself? Oh, sure. No problem.
Right. So anyway, he's racing to get home, and he's about they're stopping. Mia's about to jump out the window, holding the doll, because once you give the demon its soul, I guess it's happy and just goes away.
Yep.
For some reason, just one. He's just not greedy. Just one. So anyway, Mia's about to jump out the window. The husband and the bookstore lady stop her. She's like, "Oh, I know how to stop this. I'll do it myself." And she throws herself out the window. And, well, they get rid of the doll, and that's the last we see of them happily ever after, other than a older woman buying the doll from a used place to give to her daughter, who's a nurse, who are the nurses that have the doll at the beginning of The Conjuring. Yes, we did gloss over a lot of stuff, but it's your typical haunting, if you will.
Yeah, everything that happens in between there is just pure generic tropey garbage. I mean, there's nothing really that. I mean, if you watch it, you'll like, okay, yeah, I expected it. Like, it's all that.
Yes. I'll go in my first thoughts. I'm pretty sure I saw this in theaters. Pretty sure. I know. the wife does like movies like this. These movies are coming out there, and I go, okay, we are hitting another lull in the horror world with this crap. And everything became so generic.
Everything comes out at the same time, unfortunately.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, I understood why people like it, but it is a mindless horror movie where you don't really have to think. And if you think how hauntings or demonic entities that roam the house go, like Paranormal Activity, all that jazz, that's your movie. I know this is probably your first watch through of this, right?
Yeah.
What were your first thoughts then on this?
I mean, again, it's exactly what I expected it to be, just kind of like generic haunted doll demon story. I mean, that's all it is. I mean, there's not a whole lot to it. I mean, I have complaints, obviously, but we'll get to those. But yeah, I mean, overall, I can't say that I was impressed. It was basically exactly what I expected it to be.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's about it. It didn't do anything to go, oh, that's interesting. Like, not at all. It was just, the whole thing was just kind of a mediocre from beginning to end.
Then let me ask you this, because we mistakenly thought Conjuring's PG-13. These are R. Do you think these had any right, at least this one, being R-rated?
No.
I don't think so.
I mean, yeah, there's no nudity. There's no, like, not even any sexual situations at all. There's no, like intense murder, blood, like, any body horror stuff at all. I mean, there's...
Yeah. People got shot, but that happens in movies.
Yeah, but I mean that happens on TV stuff,
right?
I mean, happens on like network TV. So if it can happen in network TV, you're not getting away with anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's like that. I don't think there was anything in this that wouldn't have been shown on network TV. I don't know why it would have gotten an R.
Yeah, and doing research.
You know what? Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking these people probably paid those people under the table. Here, make it R, so people think it's really scary.
Well, when doing research for these and for this episode, I was reading that James Wan's like, there's nothing you could cut out to make it PG-13. I'm thinking, correct, because it is PG-13.
Right? Yeah, it's like I was saying, like, right. I mean, like, what did they take? Like the most like uptight, like conservative like people to come watch this? Like, did they have like a busload of nuns come and watch this movie to like judge it? Like, I don't understand what's R about it.
No,
I don't get
nor do I.
This whole Conjuring universe, I don't get.
Well, we'll get to the last one, but that's when they have a first cuss word. Essentially, I think that was typically R-rated.
Okay, even Marvel movies get an F word. Yeah,
yes, one.
So like, yeah, you get one. That's a standard. You get one.
Yep. Yeah, this can be a harder R than Five Nights at Freddy's, and which is me PG-13, which is a whole other story. But yeah, let's roll into our highlights. I think the actress playing Mia did a great job of playing a 60s housewife. It felt very 60s. It felt like, I think they did a good job with the time period settings. And I think she did a good job of playing someone that's slowly going insane. Like I said, so the acting overall was not bad.
Yeah, I mean, just a counterpoint to that. I just think that story is very overdone. Now, that story was fresh in the 60s. So,
correct.
Like, you're going, just because you're going back to the 60s does not make it fresh again. It's like an old, worn out, generic tropey story. And again, just because you make it a period piece in the 60s does not excuse that. It's still a very basic, generic story that's already been told.
Right. I mean, that maybe have to be what you think about movies like this, because we discussed that kind of with Dracula, with Last Voyage of the Mirror, that maybe these movies have to be set in that time period because in today's world, who cares?
Well, yeah, but it also doesn't make sense. I mean, you could easily do it in today's world. You could easily do it in like one of those tankers that's like computer controlled, and the crew is just there in case the computer breaks.
Yeah.
Right. You can easily do it in there because like what happens if the connection to the computer breaks and you have to actually like sail the ship on your own and you have no idea where you are because all the stuff has been disconnected, right?
Yeah.
And if you weren't paying attention before that point, you might not know where you are. So like anything could happen out there. So I mean, it could be told today. You just have to put a little twist on it.
Right. But I'm saying Annabelle, and obviously these have to take place during the time frame of the Warrens, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it leaned very heavily into the Conjuring universe. What are your highlights, though, if any?
No, it is a couple. Okay, I liked how they had a cult murder, right?
Yes.
But at least they based it on like a real life thing. Okay, it wasn't some like no name cult of the Ram or whatever the hell it was. Like some made up satanic cult that was satanic panic garbage that never existed and never happened. They prefaced this whole movie with the whole, Manson family murders, right?
Yeah.
And so like this is just kind of like a play into that. Like they were all wearing white, just like the Manson family murders did. Like, there was no real excuse for it. She just went back to kill her parents with her crazy cult boyfriend, right?
Yes.
It's a realistic portrayal, but it's not done in a satanic manner. Like they're not there to do a ritual killing. They're just there because they're weird cult people. Right. Who knows what weird ass shit they thought of. Like, they corrupted me, and I have to go and kill them to free myself or some weird, drug induced, whatever crazy stuff. Right. Who knows? But at least it was based on like a semi-real thing and not like these fictional satanic cults that keep popping up everywhere. So I like that they did that. They kind of played into that version of the cult instead of the goofy satanic thing. They did like zoom in on his belt buckle, which was a ram, which I think was just kind of a throwback to the Ram cult and the other ones. I don't think they were trying to say they were in the Ram cult. I think it was just a cult back. Anyway. But I thought they did a really good job with the 60s like aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
Like the outfits and the like her baby carriage and like the storefronts and the cars. I mean, all that they did a very good job.
The
like
decorations, yeah,
right, yeah, like showing you like this is a 60s world that they live in. I thought they did a fantastic job. I would call out to whoever was Mia's stylist because she had some like quintessential 60s outfits on.
Oh, absolutely.
She was like you look up 60s housewife, or 60s like, whatever fantasy life outfit. Like, those are all the outfits that she wore, like to the T, like perfection.
Oh yeah. And I know we made this point with She Came from the Woods where they just thought it looked like the 80s, but it was like Target 80s clothing that was made this year.
Right, yeah. It was like neo 80s chic, instead of like actual 80s. But this like felt like it was actual 60s. It was I thought they did a good job with it.
Oh yeah.
And okay, this one I guess is a little up in the air, but I call it a bad ending, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like technically if you're the white people, this would be a good ending. Right? You basically conned some lady you barely know to come up and kill herself so that you and your baby can go live your happily ever after life. Right?
Yes.
And they will forget about her and probably never think about her again. Now, if you really think about this ending, that is a horrible, horrible ending. Like what vibe are you sending out to the world? That like you should, befriend some nice black lady and then push this curse on her to make her kill herself so that your baby can survive. Like how shitty is that? She was just brought into the story to kill herself.
Yes.
I mean, it's a terrible, terrible ending. But again, I guess if you just look at it on the surface, like it looks like it's a good ending, I guess. Like, they tried to say like, oh, she killed herself because she wasn't able to save her child. And now she was, but like she still killed herself. That's not an acceptable way to redeem yourself, especially not in the eyes of the church, which this universe supposedly like holds up, right?
Yep.
I just thought it was like that is a terrible ending that they're trying to pretend is an okay ending. Like this is nuts.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and then they just like throw the all away. They don't like destroy the fucking thing. why would you give that to someone else? Why would you let that doll continue to exist?
It can't. They always say it can't be destroyed. They say that.
Nobody ever tried.
No.
Like they put it in a garbage can. Like, okay, I guess in your like like pristine world of like you put it in the garbage can and it just goes away because you don't know what happens to it after that point. That's not how you destroy something. Like you put it in a garbage can, it goes to a landfill, and yeah, somebody else can find it later. Like I understand, like there's demons involved and they can make people find it and shit. But like if you put it in a garbage can and then light the garbage can on fire and watch it burn, I'm pretty sure it would be gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand how you could not. I mean, if it comes back after that, we're talking about not only supernatural, but we're talking about like somehow phasing atoms into existence that have already been destroyed. Like, if you're moving it from one spot to another spot, like, okay, there's a lot of things that could have happened in between to make that happen, right?
Yeah.
But like, if you physically burn it, destroy it, and it comes back, like, then we're talking serious stuff. No one ever tries in any of these movies.
Well, they should have just gotten their stovetop microwave or stovetop popcorn.
No shit. Yeah. Sit the doll on top of that and it would have vaporized.
Yes.
But yeah, that's the thing at the end is like, let some poor black lady die for you and then just give the doll to somebody else. Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I see that as a bad, shitty ending, but I guess it, depending on who you are and how you look at it, it can be seen as good or bad. But I see it as bad.
Yeah. Do you have any other positive, or do you want to roll into your negatives here?
Oh no, that's all the positives. I know one was kind of borderline back and forth, but I technically thought it was like, okay, I think that's a positive for me.
Yes. Yeah, so why don't you roll into your...
Okay. Lows are, okay, one, I like the 60s style. I hate the 60s lifestyle.
Yes.
Like that, you have to stay at home. You're not allowed to have a life. I mean, she didn't have any friends at all. The only friend she had was the poor black lady that she conned into killing herself to save her baby. That was like the only friend she had. Otherwise, she's doing everything by herself. The only other person she's allowed to talk to was like the priest. Like, this is bad.
Take pictures of your baby. Yeah.
Right. I mean, like, she has no friends. Like, there's not even like a church social to like introduce her to other people to talk to. Like, come on. Of course she's going to go crazy by herself. Like, what are you thinking? Especially if she's pregnant and stuff. Like, dude, she needs some social work here. But I hate that whole like man goes to work and then stays out late and does whatever the hell he wants, and the woman is just supposed to sit at home and raise the baby. That's I don't know. I was raised by a single mom. I guess that's I don't see it, but I guess that happens. Two, dear God, if she said my baby one more goddamn time in that movie. Okay? Like there is I was on a kick for a while where I was listening to those like, scary stories on YouTube. Have you ever listened to those?
Yeah.
And there's sometimes where they're like reading like, whatever Reddit posts as like, kind of creepypasta-ish type things, right? And you can always tell there's like a woman that was either pregnant or had just had a baby. And like the most frightening thing for them at that time is like someone wants to touch their baby and they don't want them. And so they have like these long ass, like 10-minute long stories about how this person in a grocery store was trying to touch and hold their baby. And that to them is like the most terrifying thing that ever happened in their life. And it's like 10 minutes long and you're like, oh, God, just stop. Just stop. Please stop. Like, my baby, my baby, my baby, 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 my baby, my baby, my baby. Like, stop. Every sentence has to have their baby in it. Like, just stop. It's not that scary. You're in a public place.
Right.
Like, there is literally people all around. It's just some old lady that likes babies too much that wants to hold your baby. That's it. There's nothing else to this. You say no and walk away. The story is over.
Right.
I just really felt like this was like a very long version of that. it was like she kept talking about her baby and baby. And obviously I'm not a woman. I've never been pregnant. I've never had a child. So I guess I don't get that. Maybe the people that have children, did it hit you different because you have kids that you cared?
It's hit my wife differently because she has that fear too.
I imagine. Again, like I said, I think this is specifically like a pregnant woman / a woman who's had children fear. And I feel like this whole movie was that. And it was not scary to me at all. And in fact, it was very boring and very generic. And I think, again, if I don't have a child, I don't care. This isn't scary to me. I guess, to certain people it might be. To me, it was not. But it was this. I got that same feeling that I got from listening to those stories when there was like ladies talking about their children being touched, and I'm like, whatever, dude. If you got a kid, you're in a grocery store, and old lady sees the baby and touches it. I don't see the big deal.
No, and to your point, to me, yeah. Do these hit me any differently? No, they do the same thing to me as they do to you. But like I said, to the wife, yes, it's very different to her. So yeah, it's definitely playing into that new mom fear.
And I mean, yeah, I'll say it specifically for this one, but I think for all of these movies, I think they were very female centric, and I'm not going to say that that's bad. I'm just going to say like I don't have as much interest in them because they're like, they're playing towards kind of those woman fears that I guess I don't have.
Yeah,
so I just don't see them as that scary, but whatever.
Oh yeah.
And so the other one I have is, okay, the priest pledged that he was going to take this doll and he was going to bring it to the church to keep it safe. But that's not the only thing he said he was going to do. He said he was going to, 1, talk to the church to get them some help, and 2, even outside of the church, there's this couple that I know, which of course they're talking about the Warrens, that can come in here and they deal with this kind of stuff specifically. I guess he just forgot. I mean, yeah, he fell down and hurt his head, right? But like, he was okay. He was still conscious. Did he ever try to get them any help?
No.
Nope. Like, he fell down and hurt. And he's like, I'm out, guys. I'm out. The church is out of this one. Deal with it yourself. Like, that was it. He fell down. Done. Like, the church is no longer involved in this story. You're on your own. Like, I don't know how he couldn't have picked up a phone and called somebody like, hey, this doll just hurt me. I'm a priest. I don't even live there. You're like, we need to get the exorcism SWAT team there immediately.
Yeah.
Right? And then nothing happened. Days later, nothing happened. No one showed up. No one asked to help. Like, again, completely forgot.
Yes. And maybe Ed and Lorraine were busy for doing another movie.
That's fine, but he also said he was going to bring the church into it. Like,
yes.
Okay, like, there's more than one priest in the entire church. I can guarantee you that. And just because he fell down, now he has concrete evidence that this doll is now evil.
Right.
Like, he knew it before, but now he's got evidence, right?
Yep.
And so he could get any one of his priest buddies, call up the Vatican hotline, get some people down here, get the Pope's exorcist down here, to get rid of this doll. And he doesn't do nothing. Nope. He's just like, well, I got hurt, guys. Sorry, it's your problem. No.
Oh, shit. The doll's pure evil. Oh, well.
Yeah. He just goes, nah, sorry. And they don't try to do anything either.
No.
They're just like, oh, priest is almost dead. Nah, you'll be fine, right? I'm going to work. Like, wow. Like, I can't, like, that whole third act, I just felt like was written by someone else. And they had to, like, try to fish it in there. Like, how do we jam this third act that doesn't make sense into the rest of this movie? And that's what they did. He just forgot. It was like a Game of Thrones season 8. Oh, they just forgot. Right. Yeah. Makes sense. The only enemy you have, you just forgot about. Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other little points before I go to mine?
No, go ahead.
The baby, especially when born, holy crap, that's a doll. Holy crap, it doesn't even look remotely real in the least bit in most of the scenes.
Well, that's every movie with a baby.
I know, but it's just like very apparent.
Yeah, a newborn looks like a 1-year-old.
Yes.
Right, and I know that's for, like, there's rules with how long babies can work or whatever. I know that's why they do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, most of the scenes it's just a blanket wrapped around a log or something. It's not even like a baby.
Right. Well, honestly, another is the kids in the hallway didn't really play much of a part of anything. Like, they drew her carriage being hit by a truck. No one does it happen. Did she talk to those kids? I mean, they mentioned it, but like, how did they know that this was going to happen? Obviously, they had some sort of clue, right? Because they drew it.
Well, here's another thing. That kid needs to get into animation stat, because that truck was exactly the same on like 3 different pages. And the kid was what, like 6?
Yeah.
If you can draw a truck exactly the same way on 3 different pages, only it gets bigger, you have a career in animation, buddy. And you need to get out of this, shithole apartment you're living in. Go work at Disney or something.
Right.
Because that was very clearly a truck that was, drawn by somebody pretending to be a child, and then they just copied and blew it up on 3 pages. It was the exact same truck. Like, children do not draw like the exact same thing like that.
Correct. Would the priest, knowing what he's walked into, have brought something like holy water or anything to this thing? Like, that comes into play later on too. Everyone knows this doll's evil when they take it, and there's no protection against what they consider to be evil. Zero. Okay. We see that Annabelle comes home. We see it here.
Right. Okay. Like, if you're a priest and you go with your tactical vest full of like stakes and holy water and shit to every single house that somebody says is haunted, you're never going to take it off. Right? It's going to be every goddamn time. This dude's old. He's been around the fucking block. Yes. He knows that there's like a minuscule chance that it's actually going to be something scary at this house. So yeah, I don't think he would show up with the shit. Do priests walk around with a bag full of holy water? No. They only bring it if something catastrophically bad is going on. And again, at this time, he probably thinks she just had a baby. She's seeing weird shit. She's having some postpartum weirdness. She just needs somebody to talk to.
Well,
that's what he goes there to talk to.
He would have a rosary at the very least on him.
Why would he have a rosary on him? He's going to talk to a married couple that just had a baby. He's not thinking he's going to fight as a Christ warrior. Again, that's part of a priest's job, is like they get to know their congregation, and they have to act as like a therapist, because a therapist will tell you things that aren't Jesus like to do. So the priest has to act like a therapist. So yeah, I don't blame him at all the first time. Obviously, when he's taking the doll home, he's like, oh shit, I probably should have brought something. Right. But like, the chance that something actual bad is going to be there is like, minuscule, tiny.
And then I will say, his creepy taking pictures of people's babies to put on his wall.
Dude, the dude's like 70 and he's never gotten laid in his life. That he's just taking pictures of moms and their babies. That they got off easy, man.
Yeah,
they got off easy.
Yeah, I'm just saying though that he flat says, "Oh, I like to take pictures," and it goes onto my wall. I'm like, that's a little weird.
No, he said it goes onto the church bulletin board.
That's still weird.
Wow, have you ever seen a church bulletin board?
Yes.
They always got pictures of fucking babies on them.
So, all right, those are my low points. I'll go first for this one for the number of useless crucifixes out of 10. Oh, I'm a little back here. What did I give the first Conjuring? All right. I think this was better than the first Conjuring because it wasn't heavily as much into the religious stuff. I mean, yes, there's religious aspects in here. But for that reason, I will give this one a 5 useless crucifixes out of 10. How about you?
I'll agree with you that I thought it was a better movie than The Conjuring 1. And they tried to at least fit this stuff into like a kind of sort of realistic application of the whole scary demon church thing.
Right.
Still a little heavy-handed for my taste, but a hell of a lot better than the Conjuring universe is. At least they left Ed and Lorraine Warren out of this movie. But still, I don't think there's a whole lot going for this movie. I don't feel like there's a whole lot that would ever bring me back to this movie.
No.
So I'm going to give it a 2.5. 2.5 useless crucifixes out of 10.
2.5. All right. Noted. Well then, sir, why don't you run us a quick recap of Annabelle Creation?
Okay. I was drinking while watching this movie.
Yes, we
so
were.
I'm gonna go over the main points. So I felt like I had to keep drinking more watching this because I didn't know what was happening half the time. Anyway, so we're introduced to a busload of orphan girls.
Yes.
With their, like, I guess, caretaker nun and then bus driver priest.
Yep.
Who, like, drops him off and then doesn't show back up again until, like, the end. So I guess, yeah, he just, like, heads to church and just, like, okay, you're, like, now a subsidiary. I'll drop you off. You're done.
Yeah.
Call me if there's a problem. So they go to this, like, house, and essentially this house is like a big kind of mansion house, and they're letting these orphan girls stay there and live there because their orphanage is, like, overcrowded. And
yes.
they have given them, like, this thing to do, like, a good deed for the world or whatever. They're, letting these orphan girls stay in their house for free, with their caretaker nun, and they have almost the whole house. There's only 2 rooms they're really not allowed to go in. One is the room where the guy and his wife stay, and his wife is sick. He doesn't really say what's wrong with her, but he's like, she's sick, she's bedridden, don't ever go in there, don't talk. And then the other one is there's a room upstairs they're not allowed to go in, which we pretty quickly find out is from their dead daughter, who we had gotten a little vignette of her getting hit by a truck.
Yes.
Early in the movie.
And to make note, we do see her dad, who is a clearly doll maker, making number 1 of 100 of the Annabelle doll.
Right, yeah. The limited series 1 of 100 that he only ever makes 1 of.
Correct. So I'll put a pin in that point right there for my points later.
I was saying, like, yeah, at the beginning they show him, like, working in the garage, and, like, he makes 1, and then, like, it seems like by the time, because it's 12 years later, they say.
Yeah.
But, like, by that time, it doesn't look like he's working anything at all. Like, he's just, like, whittling crucifixes out of wood, and that's it. He's not even doing any real work anymore.
I'll say it now then. If he's only made 1 of this doll, how's this a hot commodity 12 years later?
I was thinking about watching this. I'm like, she said this is the one to complete the set. So, like, I mean, if you're talking, like, well, there's, like, one thing to, like, have, like, to complete a set. Like,
Yes.
I want all the different configurations of a Corvette from 1968, right? There's not that many of them. I mean, it's a ridiculous thing to collect, but there's not that many of them. Now, if you're talking, I want all the Tuckers, like, there's only, like, 50 Tuckers ever made.
Right.
Like, they're, like, millions and millions of dollars. Like, you're never, ever going to find that. That's, like, basically this. Like, somehow your collection, quote unquote, includes, like, this one doll that's only ever been in existence.
Yes.
I mean, I guess we don't know for sure there wasn't more made, but
I doubt he made more.
Yeah, I doubt there was a set.
Correct.
Anyway, it goes against the rules already set. I mean, it goes against a bunch of rules.
Yes, it does.
And most of these movies go against their own stupid rules, but this one,
Correct.
I think, is especially bad at it. But so essentially, yeah. So they're not allowed to go in the bedroom downstairs. They're not allowed to go in the bedroom upstairs because that's what was the daughter's room, whatever. And that's it. That's the rules. The guy only shows up when they're going to do something bad. That's the only time he ever shows up. Otherwise, he's not there. And there's just a lot of scenes of the girls, the orphan girls. There's, like, 2 orphan girls that are very obviously, like,
in their 20s.
Yeah, older 20s, right? They're supposed to be playing, I don't know what, 16. I have no idea how young they're supposed to be, but I'm like, this is like the 50s. Like, when you're 16, I don't think you're being an orphanage anymore. I'm pretty sure they would just marry you off to somebody or something.
Right.
But I mean, what do I know? So we got younger girls. There's two that are kind of the main sort of characters, and they're probably what, like 10-ish, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And so the one girl's had polio, and it was only messed up with her one leg, which she kind of got off easy from seeing what happens to kids with polio. So, so she's got one bum leg, so she's got like the what do you call those? The braces on her one leg, and she has a hard time getting around. But the dad had put in a, like one of those rail chairs that goes up the stairs, because his wife was sick and, whatever, injured. So he had put that in years ago, and it still works, and she's happy, so she can stay upstairs. Now I'm thinking, like, in the 50s, I don't even think they had that. I'm pretty sure that didn't exist. So either that guy like built it himself, or he like hired like a nuclear engineer to like come to his house to build that for him.
Yeah.
I don't know the whole story of like the rail chair and the stairs, but I'm pretty sure that's a newer thing. The earliest record I can remember it happening was like in the Gremlins.
Yeah. Yes, that's very true.
That's like in the 80s. That's the first time I can ever remember seeing one. So I don't know. Maybe they existed 30 years before that. I don't know. Whatever. So basically, of course, spooky stuff starts happening. The one polio girl gets woken up in the middle of the night, like giggles and footsteps, and leads into the little girl's room, which is supposed to be locked, but of course the door was unlocked. And she goes into the room, and there's like a dollhouse and, stuff like music starts playing on its own, and lights are turning on by themselves. And then, of course, she finds the key and unlocks this closet, and we open up the closet, and we couldn't clearly see what it was at this point in the movie, but later on you find out that it's Bible pages glued all over the walls and door of this little closet. And Annabelle the doll is inside the closet.
Gasp.
Yeah, so she doesn't really do anything with the doll at that time. She, closes the door. She hears something. She closes the door and goes in her room, and like the old guy was there, and hears her moving around, but doesn't really do anything. But he doesn't know that she went in there. But of course, because she went in that room, now Annabelle's evil has been unleashed. So, we get a whole lot of things where we see her getting kind of picked on and left out from a lot of the other things for the other kids because, she's whatever, got polio and they don't like her or something. And the other girl is just kind of like a nerd and her friend, and so they don't really like her either. So like both of those are kind of being portrayed as like the outsiders, I guess. So as this thing like progresses, of course we get the knocks and the doors opening and closing and people seeing things and the doll ending up in weird places. This is standard Annabelle stuff at this point. The girl ends up at one point getting like, I don't know, transported through the ceiling or something. Like she gets chased by darkness, which is like the demon darkness and the doll. And she tries to get on the chair on the stairs, and it goes halfway down and then comes back up, and then she gets like launched into the ceiling. And then she falls all the way down, and then after that she's just like super sick. She can't walk.
Yeah.
And after that point she kind of like gets more and more depressed and more like kind of upset and like removing herself from the world. And on this part, I don't know if I'm not clear or if the movie's not clear, but I don't understand because the rules of, I'm going to get, I guess, a little bit into my low point. I'm going to touch on it a little bit just to kind of clarify it for myself. The rules are supposed to be, one, you have to offer yourself to the demon to allow it to take you over, right? And then two, we learned from the other Conjuring movies that, you can also get it if someone cursed you, right?
Yep.
And now in this movie, we apparently get, if you're just depressed enough, you can also just get taken over. Because there's never a scene where she goes like, I give in to you, or yeah, you can do whatever you want. Nothing like that. No one deliberately curses her with a totem like we saw in the other movies. She just like, at some point, just gets depressed enough to get possessed. Right? Am I wrong in that? Did you see any other thing that happened there?
She got vomited in the mouth.
Yeah, but I mean, like she was forcibly possessed, like taken over, right?
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Forcibly possessed. Yes.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
they keep changing the rules as to how the demons can take you over.
Yes.
Anyway, so at this point, yeah, she starts, she gets taken over. Her legs are fine now, but like everybody clearly knows that like something is wrong. Like she's not her same person. And like now everybody is getting like kind of haunted. Like the girls are like hiding under the blankets, and they get haunted by like the Mrs. lady, who they see one time through a door, and they say she's wearing a mask, like she's painted up like a doll. And there's the scene where she's like ringing her bell, which is supposed to be the bell that she rings when she wants her husband to help her with something. And she's like wandering through the house ringing the bell, and they see like a ghost. So like they know that something weird's going on, but they're like all denying. And so the little girl, the one that was like her friend before, is the only one that's really taking it seriously. And she's like trying to convince everybody that things are going wrong, and she fails. And then by the time she does convince them, like bad stuff is then happening.
Right.
Like they're all getting chased around the house and locked in rooms, and things are flying around, and people are getting scared. And the demon keeps popping out and like scratching people and grabbing people. Not a whole lot of things are happening besides that.
Well, the father that owned the house, his fingers get bent backwards, and he just gets racked.
Well, that's when they finally tell him that. Yeah. But this is after she's already been taken over, and the one girl is like telling him, okay, well, like, yeah, she went in your daughter's room, and he's like, what? And that's when he finally goes in there and looks and sees that the Annabelle closet has been opened. And he's like, okay, and then I guess he just believed her that she was possessed into the girl. So he grabs his whittled crucifix and goes to fight her. And it breaks his fingers back. So he drops the crucifix and then just like, I don't know, crushes his head. I don't know what happens. Yep. He just falls over and he's dead. He's not alive.
Quite dead.
He's very dead. And like I said, at this point, they're just like chasing people all around the house, and they go talk to the nun lady, goes and talks to the mom, and the mom takes off her mask, and you see that like her one eye is missing, and she's got like these big scratches on her face. And that's basically where you find the story. Is she gives the big exposition of the info dump, is that she says that after her daughter got hit by the truck, they were so lonely and depressed that they basically opened themselves up to anything that would help them. They don't clearly say that they were asking Satan for help, but that's, I guess, essentially what they were doing, right? I mean, they said, we opened ourselves to everyone.
Right. Essentially, they said, God didn't help us, so fuck it.
Right. That's what they were saying. That's what they were saying.
World. Yeah.
Right. That's what they were saying, but they were saying it in a way that like made them not sound as bad. But like in reality, like, we straight up asked Satan to help us. Yep. That's what they did. Anyway.
Yeah.
So they asked Satan to help them, and Satan was like, doing the things, like all the haunting things of like the girl running around in your peripheral vision, like hearing him stomping around, giggles and laughs and stuff. And they liked that because they like felt like there was life in the house again, but like essentially it was just like haunted.
Yeah.
But eventually, they learned that, the doll was evil and bad, and they tried to stop it, and then that's when
her face got ripped open.
The ghost girl scratched her face and pulled her eye out, and somehow that I mean, if I was missing an eye and had a scratched up face, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be bedridden. I'm pretty sure I could like walk around still, but I mean, maybe she just got so depressed that she just gave up on life. I'm not gonna.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not gonna say that that's not what happened, but that's apparently what happened. So she says, so you gotta like stop it from happening. And then
and then she gets ripped in half, crucified against the wall, ripped in half.
Well, they don't show that. They don't. Well, they show the body afterwards. They don't show it happen. Right. They go off and they're running around the house, getting chased again, and they come back to like ask her another question or ask for help or hide or something, and they just see her like her one half on the wall and the other half on the bed.
Well, for these movies, that is gruesome for them.
Yes. No, it is. It's fair. It's fair. For these movies, it is gruesome.
Yes.
So that at that point they're all like, "Oh, we're scared," and then they like go outside, and then they somehow like throw the girl in the well. Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, they threw the girl in the well, and then they just put the lid on the well, and then it was over.
Pretty much.
Okay.
That's not the end of the movie. The end of the movie is the possessed girl with polio.
Well, that's the post-credits scene.
I know, but it does lead credence too, because there is something that lead in the post-credits scene that ties into the first one.
Well, that's the witch or the nun, right?
Well, no, the nun comes into play because someone's looking at the picture of the nun that was there with the girls. Like, oh, what's this weird image that you never tilted your picture before? Do you see the nun? Oh, that's in Romania, and there's the nun. But
where did they show the post credit nun? Was that in the first Annabelle then?
It was in this as well.
Because I thought the post credits for this one was they showed the parents adopting her in the orphanage.
Yes.
That was the post credits for this one. So the post credits of the nun was the first one.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're correct. Yeah.
All right. I was going to say I thought there was two.
Yes.
But so essentially the girl survived and was adopted by the parents from the first movie.
The neighbors,
the neighbors, and and she wanted to be called Annabelle. Annabelle was not the girl's name; that was the ghost girl's name that got killed by the truck.
Correct.
So the ghost girl was still possessed in her, but somehow she escaped and went to an orphanage.
Yep.
To be adopted. So
yeah, and we do get like a little extended scene. There probably something that was cut from the first movie because we get that rehash of the night of that murder, of the light turning on there and their neighbors getting killed.
Right.
But yes.
Yeah, we got kind of an extended version of that.
Right.
And yeah. And that's it. And that's it.
Yeah.
So you want me to go first?
Your first thought. Yeah, this is your first thoughts. First time seeing. I've seen this a couple of times, so.
Yeah, it's my first time seeing it. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know. I was not a big fan of this. I didn't think it was very well put together. It just felt like it was just kind of a sloppy mismatch of things that didn't really like make a coherent story. You know what I mean? Like those interesting scenes, but like I really felt like they were like 10 people got together and wrote scenes and then they tried to like link them together. You know, because like some scenes were like outside, some scenes were in the house. Like they couldn't make up their minds where this haunting was happening. It was like a scarecrow ghost for no reason at all. Like there was nothing linking the scarecrow ghost to anything else other than the scarecrow was spooky looking. Like nothing else. Again, it was all over the place. I didn't quite get it, but yeah, it was about the same as the first one. Like it's better than the Conjuring movies.
Yes.
But not by much.
That's, yeah. I did not see this one in theaters.
It came out slightly later. It was like, 2017 for this one?
Yeah. So this is me stopping to watch. I stopped watching every horror movie in theaters. This is waiting for it kind of go, on VOD or digital. I definitely watched it then. I think this is probably the second time of me watching this, but it was one of those things like, okay, I was not infatuated with this universe. I'm like, okay, I mean, I'm a completionist, so I'm like, all right, I've seen 3 of these at this point in time. I will eventually see this. It took me a while to watch it, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't, this was a origin story to the origin story. We keep going back in time with these, and I'm not sure absolutely necessary. Honestly.
Well, no. But I mean, like, again, if you're going to show like an origin story for like an evil haunted doll, it should be more than like just a limited edition doll that somebody made. Like,
yes.
You know what I mean? It should be like, some evil, with this universe, you'd think it would be like some evil satanic, ritual happening during the creation of the doll, based on how much evil is fuming off of this thing.
I mean, the demon's not that evil. It only wants one soul at a time. It goes away.
Okay. Well,
It's not. It's satiated relatively easily.
I'll get there.
In comparison.
I'll get there.
Why don't you start with your highlights first, though?
I thought that the darkness effects were kind of cool in this.
Mm-hmm.
The way that they it was like this inky darkness that would take over things while they were looking at stuff. I thought that effect was kind of cool. I liked that like 1950s pop gun that she had.
Yeah,
with, like,
the space gun. Yeah,
with like it had a fishing reel that would reel back in the ball. I'm still not quite certain what kind of force was shooting that ball out. Because again, this is the 50s. Like something needs to be pumped. There wasn't like CO2 cartridges back then. So like you had to like pump something or wind something or do it. That she wasn't doing anything. So I don't know what it was powered by, but it was interesting. I mean, it would have been a fun toy to have as a kid.
Yes.
That's all I got.
That's all you got. All right. I think, I mean, the aesthetics was good, and we discussed it. They definitely went for the stereotypical Catholic priest. He was definitely Irish, right?
Like I was saying, they cover all their bases with the Catholic Church with an Irish priest and a Latina nun.
Yes.
Right? They have now covered all the Catholic bases. Those are their two major, like, I guess, pillars of the Catholic churches. The Irish and Central America.
Yes. I mean, despite the 20-year-old, clearly 20-year-old women being orphans, I don't think the kid acting was all that bad, especially in comparison to the Conjuring world.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not going to call them out for being bad. They weren't that. I don't think they were great, but they were better than a lot of other child actors for sure.
Oh yeah, we've seen a lot worse.
Yes. So like I said, this one was not that bad comparatively. But again, the older girls were clearly played by adults.
Oh, absolutely.
There's only like two girls that were like actual young children.
Right. And I thought Miranda Otto, who plays the mom, she's generally good in what she is. I don't think she was used enough. I think she was wasted, but I think the scenes that she was in was pretty good.
Well, yeah, she's basically like the only person noticeable in the movie. Like the only person I've ever seen in anything else. And yeah, she was only in like 2 scenes, and that's it.
And my last highlight is the Warrens were not in this movie.
Yeah, the Warrens were not even mentioned in this movie, which is good.
Yes, so that's a highlight.
Yeah,
that's a highlight. I'll just roll into my low points so you can get into yours. Low points, as I mentioned before, I'm assuming the guy made the one doll, his daughter died, and he didn't make any more of those dolls. So they are stepping, as we discussed, on their own rules in their own universe. There's no way this is a collector's item that they're so lucky to have found one when there's only one.
Well, and they're also talking about sets. Like, if this is a doll that some guy makes in his garage, what kind of set is he going to make? I mean, dolls that big and complicated are going to take a long time to hand make.
Oh, yes.
So, I mean, could he sell them for enough money? Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I'm not saying that he wouldn't have enough to live on. I'm saying, like, how the hell is there going to be a set of those if it's only him doing it? And, like, that set, of course, we won't be able to pay rent for a month. Yeah, like, you should be able to pay rent for years. It should be like a mortgage for how expensive that thing would be.
Right. Yeah. I wish they would have outright stated that they clearly went to the devil or to a demon when they opened it up. They toed around it, and for this universe being right in your face Christian, they need to outright say that some people aren't. That they clearly messed up.
Well, that was the thing is they never said what caused the whole thing to happen. They just said we opened ourselves to anything. Like, okay, like you can't just go, hey, yo, Satan.
Right.
Want to help me out? Like, you had to do some shit to make that happen. So, like, you're talking like you did some, like, satanic rites that worked. What did you do?
Right.
So, yeah, they're very vague on that.
And I will throw this out there. They tried to logic reason themselves as to why the demon wasn't in full power and hasn't been for they said like at least 10 years, right? Of them putting Annabelle into the Bible room with the lock. I'm sorry. If you are powerful enough to make people go into rooms, to unlock doors, to push things around the dollhouse, to make sure to expose the key, have electrical disturbances, you can pop open that stupid door.
Well, that's the whole thing in this universe, is that demons can't set themselves free, but they can coax other people to do it for them.
I'm just saying, it's very powerful in its own right without anything else, just to be able to still do that.
Again, if the glass case in the Warrens' house is enough to contain the evil of the doll, then yes, a Bible closet would also be just as powerful to be able to contain the doll.
Yeah, but I mean, in the Warren house, though, it doesn't do anything until it's open. That's still able to manipulate outside things outside of that room is confined in.
Well, that's because it's magic and they have it blessed twice a week.
That's true. Yeah, and then the woman, the nun, never looking, like slightly turning her picture to see this clear as day figure in the shadows of the alley. And how many years? Yeah, like that's
maybe it's only visible now because they're near a demonic entity.
Maybe, but I'm like, you can see you're able to see the nun kind of in the alley without him slightly turning it.
Well, it was like one of those magic pictures that like you turn it slightly and like a hologram of face comes in.
Maybe. And lastly, why did it take Annabelle 12 more years to go crazy? Like, you think it being a demon-possessed thing, that she would have been a member of the cult, that she would have been leading the cult. It's really weird that it took that long for anything, and she was just a member of a cult. Like,
well, she didn't have the doll with her.
That's true.
The doll was somewhere else. She was just the possessed girl. She was possessed with the ghost of the other girl.
Yeah.
Why she went bad, who knows? But I mean, obviously, you know, she had been dead, so whatever she saw in the Upside Down or whatever the hell she was, whatever she was dead or whatever it is, that might have made her bad. But yeah, the doll was not technically there, so like the demon just let her go, but she was still possessed by the other girl.
Yeah. All right. What are your low points?
This is another movie. Some movies do this, some movies don't, where like the sounds are just ridiculous. Like they're talking and they're like, like mumbling. You can't hear a goddamn word they're saying. So you got to turn it all the way to fuck up to hear what they're saying. And then like 2 seconds later, it's like boom, like this huge fucking crash. And they're like, you got to turn it the fuck down because you can't, like, you know, the whole house is, you know, creaking because this thing is so damn loud. Like, kind of, it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I hate that. I don't know why they can't just even it out. Because some movies are fine. I would say if it happened in every movie, maybe it's my setup, right? Maybe it's just the way I'm watching movies. I can understand it, but it's only some movies do it. I don't quite know what it is, but yeah, it drives me crazy. You witnessed it this time as well.
Oh, absolutely. You're constantly going up and down.
Yeah, like, what the hell is she saying? You got to turn it up, and then it's boom, explosion. You're like, son of a bitch, you turn it down. Yeah, it's goofy. But the main problem that I have with this movie is that, again, they're breaking their own rules. And not only that, but in this movie, the rules are not even clear. Like in the other movies, it's like, oh, you can only be possessed by a demon if you invite the demon in, right? Which is that rule is broken like in the very first movie. Like that mom did not ask to be possessed in any way. She, like they say, oh, the demon likes to trick you, blah blah blah, whatever. She never allowed the demon to come in at all, but she was possessed anyway. They break their own rules in the first. The second one, oh, well, you can only happen if you let the demon in, or if you're, cursed and somebody puts this totem under you, then they can, take you because the person inflicted it on you. Okay, there's another rule. And now this one, it's like, oh yeah, they can take you over if you're just upset or depressed.
Yep.
They just take you over and it's done. But like, okay, what was the demon's goal in this?
That's a great question.
Right? Like, okay, if you're trying to take a soul, if that's your whole goal, and you possess this girl, it's done, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's done. Like, so, okay, like, if you possess the girl, all you gotta, it doesn't matter how weird you're acting, as long as you're not doing blatantly evil shit, no one is going to question that you're that girl.
No.
Right? You're an orphan who has, like, one friend who, like, barely knows her. So, like, I don't understand if, like, what's your goal, dude? Like, what are you looking for? Like, the rules of this, world clearly say that the demons are trying to take souls. So if he takes over your body, your soul is now forfeit, which we've seen because even at the end of this movie, she never went back to normal.
Correct.
So even after they supposedly, banish the evil or whatever, and the doll's, not directly evil anymore, they could give it away to the police or whatever, that girl never came back. So, like, whatever the demon did to her, it's permanent. So it's like, what was the demon was just like buddies with this girl's ghost and just took over her body for the girl's ghost and then just went laissez-faire and walked away? You know what I mean? Like, I don't, like, what the hell was the point of that? Like, okay, then if you could easily take over one girl's body, like, they're all orphans. They're all depressed as it is. If that's all it takes, you could have took all of them. That's, but he doesn't. He only takes the one, and he like lets the other girl's ghost take over the body, and then he just like goes in a scarecrow. Yeah, the motives in this movie are all over the place. It does not make any sense. Like, are you trying to steal a soul? Are you trying to possess somebody? Are you trying to possess somebody for someone else? I mean, like, why were you called? Like, what was the summoning? What was the purpose of the summoning? We don't get any answers to any of these questions. We never get any wrap up. And then all of a sudden you throw a girl in a well and it's all done? Like, it's just gone? No exorcism? Like, the religious people didn't do any religious stuff. It just stopped. And, like, very clearly we see, like, the girl at the end is like, okay, she's still a ghost or whatever, but, like, where the demon went or why or how, nothing. Don't get nothing.
Yeah.
It's just like all these open-ended loose ends, and then they just credits. I'm like, wait a minute, like nothing was fixed.
No.
Yeah, so again, like, that's the huge problem I have with this movie is that there is no clear motives. They break all their own rules so that you don't even know what the hell is happening. You don't even know what you're expecting to happen. Like, if you would have followed the rules of the franchise, we would know what's going on, what's at stake, what they need to do to save the people, right? But nope, they don't do that, and they're following some other weird path to where, yeah, murder the dad, right? Why? Why were you doing that? Why did you act so strangely when you took over the little girl's body to, like, make it obvious that you're a demon in there? If that was your purpose, like, I don't get it. I don't understand. Whatever. I don't. I'm just lost. I can't figure that movie out, and I'm still lost about it, and I'm angry. But yeah, the only other thing of that is just the girls' ages are obviously did not match up.
Correct. We were discussing and looking up like how old are these women? Like, we were both surprised because we watched this together that what these girls weren't hitting on the father first and foremost. Like seducing the guy with.
I think you've been watching too many of the rated X movies, buddy.
Sure.
Just because girl orphans move into a house doesn't mean they have to attach themselves to the only male in the house.
That's true. But in that time, I'm surprised they didn't even like mention, oh, don't you think the dad's cute? Like, even a line like that, I'm surprised. I'm just surprised. I'm just surprised.
Yeah, I think you've been watching too much of the other kind of movies.
All right, how many useless crucifixes out of 10 do you give this one?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't like this movie, but I don't know if I liked it less than the other one. I'll give it two useless crucifixes out of 10.
Yes. It was definitely worse. Just especially with all the reasons that you stated for low points. It broke the rules, and it's like someone didn't watch the previous 3 movies of the Conjuring universe. Like, okay, here are the rules. What? No, I'm just doing my own thing. Screw it. That's 12 years ago. 12 years in the future. He changes his motives by that.
Well, okay, but I mean, I was saying this is a prequel to the other movie, and the other movie is very clear about what the demon is trying to do.
Yes,
the demon is trying to take the baby's soul because in this universe, I'm sorry, that's another rule that they made up in that other one, is that they can take a baby's soul because a baby can't say no.
Right.
What was the goofy reason they gave? A baby can't but say yes or some shit. I don't know what you're talking about. Whatever. A baby is easily convinced to let the demon in or whatever, I guess.
Sure. Why not? That possessed baby.
They said something specific like that. Whatever. I don't care. But yeah, so he took the baby, and then the poor lady had to jump out the window to save the baby because it needed a soul. Period. So the lady damns herself to hell to save some lady's baby she doesn't even know.
Yes,
I don't think so, but that's just me. But yeah, this movie again, it comes out directly in that line, right? If you would have even watched the first movie of this franchise, you would have clearly saw what the demon's purpose is supposed to be. Right?
Yeah.
And this one, it's all over the place. It's just, I don't know what happened.
Right.
Sloppy work.
Yep. So for that reason, I'm giving 4 useless crucifixes out of 10. Let's get into this last movie, which is Annabelle Comes Home, which I believe was 2019.
Which, I mean, really should have just been The Conjuring 3.
Yes, it is very Warren heavy, Adelaide Warren heavy, because it essentially just takes place in their house.
Yep.
Anyway, we are introduced to the 3rd or 4th Judy in this universe at this point in time.
Yeah.
Judy Warren, their daughter. Her birthday's coming up. Which prefaces that we see what happens after they take the doll from the first Annabelle movie, and then stuff ensues in their car, and Lorraine has her god visions of people that are dead and all this crap.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, yeah. Spoiler alert. This is one of my low points. She has another power given to her now. Because before, she was able to commune with the dead for sure, but she had to go into a trance.
Yes.
And go into a seance and then astrally project herself in order to see the dead before, right? Otherwise, she couldn't see them. Now she can just straight up see them. Now she just has Sixth Sense kid powers.
She can look into the graveyard and see all the dead people.
Right.
Yes.
She can see them all the time now. Okay, why do they keep doing this? Why do you just keep adding powers on? It's very clearly defined what you can and can't do. And these movies are horrible with just adding on shit later. You can always do that. Then why the fuck didn't you do it before?
Right. Yes. She's leveled up yet again. They bring the doll, hey, they get the same priest, all these Conjuring movies to get the they go there on a rocking chair. Oh, that's not good enough. Do we still have that? Do we still have that glass from the chapel? Yeah. Boom. Box.
Yeah. Boom. Made with a lock and hinges and golden filigreed edges and stuff. I'm now you just had this sitting around. Right. And a sign that says absolutely do not open.
Yes.
Right. Sure. Was this inferred that they let that priest watch their child? Because they weren't there and they came to their house and the priest was already there.
I mean,
I'm pretty sure they did. I'm just saying, in the 70s, it probably wasn't a bad thing. I'm just saying, nowadays, you would not want to do that.
Grandma was always around, too. They saw Grandma in the Conjuring, too, when they just left for England and left their daughter. So anyway, yeah, that's all happening. We find out that, the daughter has this babysitter that's not Grandma all of a sudden. And then she's in high school and she's being bullied and she's like, hey, my birthday's coming. No one's going to come because no one likes me. People think my parents are weird, that they're hoaxes and all that stuff. And, yes, they are.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, some of this shit that Ed and Lorraine Warren was saying, yeah, if that shit was in the newspaper and I knew you were their kid, I'd be like, whoa.
Right. So anyway, she's, babysitter and one of her friends comes over and like, hey, we're going to celebrate your birthday with you. We're going to stay the night while your parents are out doing, I don't know, scouring the weekly newspapers for people that might have possessions that they could go exploit. I don't know what they did then. So anyway, the girls like, the babysitter's friends like, hey, I'm gonna get you a pair of skates. I got you skates for your birthday. Why don't you go ahead and skate? And then she goes into the Warren's room because she finds the keys behind the picture of Jesus. And she then proceeds to do the biggest no-no in any horror movie is touch all the things in the possession room. Literally everything.
Yeah, she's like rubbing all over everything. And not only does she do that, but then she takes out a like haunted picture of her own.
Yes.
Puts it out there and then says, if anything can hear me.
Anything in this room.
Right, yeah, it's like, come on.
Yes, they don't take bleeding Virgin Mary statues and put it into the room. They take the opposite of that and put it in the room. I'm going to throw this out there right now. If you know this woman is a medium that can talk to them, why don't you just talk to Lorraine? Why don't you go into the worst room full of possessed things to do all this crap?
Right, yeah. Again,
right?
This is just as bad as like, we opened ourselves up to anyone that would listen. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And, then she kind of sees visions of her dad. Then we get introduced to another villain that will probably have its own spinoff at some point in time, the Ferryman. Like, why do they have coins over their eyes? I'm like, I thought this was common knowledge.
It is. I mean, you got to be like living under a rock to not know that.
Yes, it's to pay the toll to cross the river Styx. That's common stuff. It's been in practice forever. It still is in lots of places.
Well, it used to be common practice. I mean, one, obviously the Styx thing, but two is that as bodies rot, yep. The eyes are one of the first things to go. And back in the old days, they did not have, preservation techniques. So like if the body was sitting out for too long, the eyes would rot out. So they put coins over them so you didn't see that.
Also to pay the Undertaker as well.
Well, that too.
Right. So anyway, yeah, then she just lets pretty much all the evil out of them. And then
burns the cake.
Yes, but just the top. I'm sorry.
If it was black. It was all black.
If the top of your cake is black, it is dry. I don't care how much frosting you put on that cake. It is dry.
They very clearly made another cake because they showed them eating the cake later. It looked like normal cake, so they very clearly made another cake off screen.
Yes. So essentially, yes, all this stuff starts happening. Annabelle, gets out because it's kind of the last thing that she takes out, and not as much demon stuff ensues, but still possession, haunting type stuff continues. Voices, electricity going out. Flashlights constantly going out. We introduced to the pizza guy because they're the pizza. Then we get to Bob.
I'm sorry. I would have murdered that pizza guy.
Yes.
If anyone delivers a pizza to my house and says, here's your pizza, it's all there except for the piece I ate in the car, and was fucking serious about it, I would punch him in the face. Yes. I paid for this pizza, motherfucker. I don't know you. You don't get a piece of my pizza. That's not how this works.
Right. So yeah, then we get Bob, who has balls because, he is like the ball manager for all the sports teams. So that's his nickname. who then is trying to serenade. I don't remember which one at this point in time. I think the babysitter.
Yeah,
don't really care. And yeah, so then he happens to fight off a werewolf who turns into smoke by hitting it with his guitar.
Right. Like, I mean, well, we'll get there. I don't understand. Like, somehow a werewolf appeared outside.
Yes.
Okay.
Clearly not from that room.
I don't know. Like, he hit it and it turned into smoke, so obviously it was like a ghost werewolf. Like, where the hell did it come from? Like, what object would they have that would be a werewolf?
That's a great question. I don't know.
None of this shit makes But then there's the haunted wedding dress that makes whoever puts it on murderous.
Essentially becomes the lady in white.
Right.
Which is we get to in La Llorona movies that are coming up for the next week episodes.
I thought La Llorona was the lady that would steal your babies from the river or something.
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't watched that movie.
I haven't seen it either. I'm just saying that the story of La Llorona is something like you go and wash your baby in the river and then this lady comes and steals him or some shit. It's like this story.
Yeah.
I don't know the story behind it. I thought that was the gist.
You're right. So anyway, they're like, oh, if we put Annabelle away, everything else will stop. Everything.
Because Annabelle brings the evil out in everything else.
Even though Annabelle was the last thing to be touched and unlocked, and the chaos started before she got out of her case.
Right.
Yes. So anyway, they kind of go through all the stuff. They have to kind of go through all the ferrymen to try to find a key. They played this one game where they put your hand in the box and guess what's in it, which is a weird game.
Feely Mealy. I wonder if that's a real game.
It probably is.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I nothing that has a brand name on it is ever going to scare me. Okay? No. And they very clearly had Milton Bradley pasted on the side of it, okay?
Yes.
Just like a Ouija board. Ouija boards are made by Parker Brothers. That's not scary. It's made by a corporation as a toy. It's not something that's going to scare people. Like, again, I've been around people trying to use Ouija boards a million times, and I have caught the person trying to push the thing every single time. Okay? They don't exist. It's made by a corporation, made, on an assembly line. There's nothing spooky about it.
Oh, corporations to be scary.
I'm just saying. They're like, oh, Ouija boards summon demons. Like, dude, it's made by Parker Brothers. It's not summoning anything. Except for your lack of funds now, because he paid for it.
Yes. So anyway, they go through the ferryman, they get the key, but hands are coming out, their demon is there, part of Annabelle, and they happen to play the exorcism of the La Llorona while she's wearing the bride. And so the exorcism, nullifies the demon that's attached to Annabelle. They lock her up, and everything immediately stops. Next morning, Ed come learning back, what you touched? I touched everything. Okay, don't do that. And then all the kids show up to her birthday party because the babysitter and her friend go, hey, she's not that weird. Come to their house. And then at the ending is Ed Warren about to torture the kids with his guitar playing and singing.
Yeah, I was like, no. And then thankfully they cut away. I was like, oh, thank
God. And Lorraine goes, yeah, I talked to your dad. He says, you're cool.
Yeah, wow, thanks, creepy bitch.
Right.
I didn't fucking ask you. I mean, that's a very personal thing. Like, somebody came up like, whoa, okay. That's not cool.
Yes. So, end the movie.
Yep.
I'll go. This is my second time watching this. So I'll go to my first thoughts was it seemed like the studio goes, you know what? These Annabelle movies, you know what they're missing more of? The Warrens. Let's just make another Conjuring movie instead, shall we?
That's what I'm saying. That's what this is. It's like the Conjuring 3.
Yes.
This time it's Judy's problem. It's like Come on, man.
And I thought Annabelle, up until this point, was doing okay without having the Warrens really in it.
I mean, that's debatable. It was doing better than The Conjuring, sure.
Right. But yeah, I'm just like, they got their, I said that the F-bomb they dropped felt like a PG-13 horror movie celebratory fuck.
Right.
Like, hey, we get to say our fuck here. We're going to use it. Cool. Once again, could have been PG-13.
Right. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Right. What was your first thought on this?
I mean, really, when I was watching this, I really felt like I was watching a TV show. Like, I really felt like it was like a sitcom. I mean, like, sometimes they get into like a little heavier stuff, but like I really overall felt like it was like it needed like a laugh track almost. It's like everything was just so generic and just so like just kind of set up, like, it was like softball, like lobbing it to you, like easy hits, right? It's like, everything was like that. It just felt like just, again, what everything in this series does to me. It's like very generic, very tropey, never does anything new. This one just did a whole lot of little mini tropes in one movie. Instead of relying on one big trope, it was like a whole bunch of little mini ones.
Yeah. I'm just getting fed up, and I don't think I didn't realize how bad these were until we are doing 9 of these movies in a 3-week period. Like, generally when you space things out, you tend not to always notice it, but this is getting blatantly obvious. Just like, it's not even textbook at this point in time, because they're just throwing everything out the window again.
Right.
Highlights. The babysitter's acting wasn't bad. This is not a good movie. I mean, it still felt like it was 1973 or whatever it was. And I said they're still doing a good part on that. But yes, they definitely. Yeah. Do you have any highlights?
Yeah. I really try hard to find at least a couple. I really try to do 3. I was only able to do 2 for the last one because that's it. That's all I had. But yeah, I would say like I liked the 70s style was like peak in there, man. I mean, it was like all the internal design, all the clothes, like everything.
Well,
was
like the partial walls are like bookshelf wood.
Right. Yeah, it was like with the weird glass, and like they even had that piece of glass that's like it's like yellow orange with like the little circles all in it. Like it was in every house in the 70s. They had that. I mean, there's a lot of like time accurate 70s stuff in there. I thought they did a cool job with. I did like the end credits. I thought they did a good job with, like the actual visuals, the kind of graphic design for the end credits. I thought those were pretty cool. And I was very, very thankful that we were spared another Patrick Wilson sing-along. Because I was like, no, I see the guitar, no! And then it thankfully cut away. I was like, oh.
Well, because then you realize, it's a happy ending. All the kids are to pay, for Judy's birthday. And then like they would have been like, okay, we're never talking to you again because you're dead.
If I go to some kid's birthday party and their dad pulls out a guitar and starts singing Elvis songs, I'm out.
Yeah.
I am out. Sorry.
Yep. Do you want to do your little points first?
Sure.
Okay.
Number 1, big capital letters, Ed and Lorraine Warren. I hate Ed and Lorraine Warren. I hate everything they're about. I hate everything they're in. I hate all this glorification of what they did and all their bullshit that they said. I've said it again. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I don't like it. I hate it.
Yes.
It was. I said it earlier. Like Lorraine, it just every single movie she keeps getting more and more magic powers. So like this one, she doesn't have to be in a trance or a seance or actually project to see the dead anymore. Now she get to see them all the time. So now she's like literally has the powers of Cole from the
Sixth
Sixth
Sense.
Sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
She just you do everything now. I'm wondering what she's going to be able to do in the next one. Probably fly.
Well, I mean, the next one was The Devil Made Me Do It. So we'll have to wait until the last rites to see the next one.
Okay, now here's the thing that just because we've been watching this whole series, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I watch all the crawls and all the bullshit that they say and all that in the movies. Okay, now, very clearly, in the very beginning of this universe, Patrick Wilson or Ed Warren says that they have to get their room with all the stuff in it blessed once a month. Very clearly says that in the very first movie. Okay? A couple movies later. Oh, we have to get this blessed twice a month. Okay? And now, in this movie, we have to get it blessed once a week. So that, again, they can't even keep their own fucking stupid rules straight. They have to just continually keep, again, just like Ed and Lorraine did in real life, they just keep exaggerating shit. Like, I bet you they had a priest bless it one time, and they just keep making it bullshit. Like, oh, we have to do it every week now. No, you don't. No, you don't. It's just, again, it's the typical, exaggeration and escalation that they keep doing with everything, which doesn't make any fucking sense. And then, like, the whole thing, when I was watching this, I kept thinking, like, this is like a best of episode.
Yes.
This is like a clip show. It was like all of these little tiny stories that apparently had already happened in the Warren universe that they're just like showing little bits and pieces of. Like, it really felt like any movie or show that has like some kind of headquarters where they keep things like in a quote unquote vault, and somebody ends up opening up the vault and all these crazy bad things happen. That's what this movie is. It's that typical trope. It's like Ghostbusters when the dickless man opens up the vault, right? And all the ghosts come out. It's the same thing.
So you saying the Babysitter Friend's Walter Peck? That's awesome.
The dickless man, as I call him. Yes, it's true. This man has no dick. Now, that's what it felt like. It felt like the Ghostbusters like open up the vault. Now all the ghosts are all over the house, and like wacky hijinks ensue. Because like nothing is ever really scary in this movie. It's just like stupid stuff. Like a ghost werewolf comes out. Like somehow the girl gets in the wedding dress, because the wedding dress is only supposed to make you kill people when you put it on.
Yes.
So she put it on for some reason. I don't know why. And then all of a sudden there's like all these coins all over the place. And all you have to do is shine a flashlight at him and he goes away. How is that scary?
Did you not like the Ghost Samurai?
It would have been cool if he did something. He just literally was a helmet on a rack that turned as you walked past.
Yes.
And you could hear people speaking in Japanese when you walk past it.
Yes.
So spooky. So scary. But yeah, it felt like that best of clip show episode. It did not feel like its own thing. And like kind of leading into that is like everybody kept separating. And everybody kept having their own little mini stories. And like the mini stories by themselves are not really scary, but they kept separating. And then they'd come back together for a second. And then they would split back up again to have their own little mini stories again. It kept happening. It happened like 3 times. They would come together, then they would separate. Come together, separate. Come together, separate. Like the house is not that big. Just stay in the same room. Again, like where the hell did the werewolf come from? Like, why was it outside? Why was it chasing someone playing a guitar? I mean, like, what was the point of that? Like, why was it attacking chickens? Why did they have chickens?
Yes.
Who knows? Let's see. What do we got? I mean, yeah. The generic stuff that they had, like, this spooky, scary stuff, like a Milton Bradley board game, like a monkey, with the symbols, like all this stupid stuff on the shelves. It was all very generic-y stuff. Like, again, that's how Ed and Lorraine's stuff was in real life. And they just took a bunch of like useless junk and they said, ooh, there was a ghost in that one time. And they made up a story about that ghost. And then now this junk has a reason to exist. And that's like what this whole room was. It's just a bunch of junk that people believe. I mean, again, now we have more rules that change. Now, if it was as easy as recording an exorcism and just playing that recording whenever anybody was possessed, why would you even need an exorcist?
Correct. You don't.
Like, one guy would have to read the exorcism rites from the book. And again, what we're told in the very first movie, Ed Warren is not a priest. So if he's not a priest, how is he able to do these exorcisms, and why does he keep doing them? Like, he supposedly had to do it in the first one because it was an emergency and the church couldn't get there in time. Okay, whatever. But, like, why does he keep doing it then? Why does he keep putting himself in these situations where he is there to do the exorcism and a priest is not? Like, don't you have, then you should probably have a partner that should go with you to places that can do this instead of you. But if you can just record it and then play it over and then it just hears demon possession, like, why do you need to go there yourself? You can just be like, oh, you think something's, oh, you got a demon possessed kid? Okay, here's a tape. Put the kid down in front of the TV and play the tape and she'll be fixed. Like, I mean, again, just stupid rules, stupid stuff. I mean, the whole prayer thing. I mean, like, the little girl kept praying all the time. That was very, very annoying because it never saved her. It never did anything.
Correct.
But yeah, just the ending. I hated the ending. The ending was just stupid.
Yeah. Anything else?
Okay. Well, I'll stop. Okay. I'll stop rambling.
First and foremost, I did look up 1967. Feely Mealy was in fact a real game.
Sweet, we should get it.
Yes. So we discussed a little bit before this. I was doing research on Judy Warren. Judy Warren's birth year ranges from 1946 to 1950. So either she was 22 or 26 in real life at this time frame. Now, why they make her 10 to 14 years younger for this movie? Was it even necessary? No clue. And there's been lots of speculation because people have asked her about, her interactions with Annabelle because of this movie, right? And she goes, I didn't meet Annabelle until I was an adult. That makes sense. You were fucking 26.
Oh, right.
when your parents brought Annabelle home. So it makes complete and perfect sense. Right? Why are they so hard and fast and loose with these rules? Why did they need a young daughter? That they had to have a young daughter to give her the locket in Conjuring 2, right? Or even the first one, whichever one it was. I think it's the first one. And then it comes back into play because she gets the heart medicine in that locket to give Ed in Last Rites as he's having his heart attack because he's like 60 in real life at this point in time.
Right. He's 60, but the actor version still has to look like he's 30.
Right. And what's funny is the boy that's bully, that's the younger brother, Judy Warren married him in real life. So they're still taking real people and then just changing their ages for some really weird reason, just to fit them into this narrative. Like this, you're right. It did feel like a grab bag of who is who of everything in there, and showed that they were spreading thin with the Annabelle stories because they just made up everything. And I'm not saying that needed to be based on real things for it to be a good movie, because those also suck. This movie was completely unnecessary to the Annabelle world. Yeah, the girl that just touches everything. Like, I knew that line. I had seen the movie once. I knew that line when it was going to happen. What did you touch? I touch everything. Like, it very much reminded me of when in Cabin in the Woods, where they go into the cellar and they're seeing all this goofy and weird ass shit you shouldn't be touching. They're going to touch everything. Was the guitar blessed by a priest? Or werewolves hindered by wood now? I don't know. I don't think acoustic guitars are supposed to hurt werewolves. Or werewolf ghosts. I don't know if that's even a possible thing. That was so out of place. It felt like, you said it's like the clip show, and it was very Scooby-Doo-ish in the monsters that they were creating.
Right. Yeah, I will agree with that 100%.
You know, oh, and the ferryman, he doesn't like light, so just shine a flashlight at him, he'll just drop his coins. You just found a source of perpetual income. It appears every single time with more coins. And these are antique coins. I'm like, my goodness, she's getting rich.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, this movie was completely unnecessary. And the first two, at least they alluded to Annabella being a Raggedy Ann doll, because that was given to Annabelle in the post-credit scene of Annabelle Creation, that she's briefly handed Raggedy Ann doll. In the first one, I believe the wife was looking at a commercial for Raggedy Ann doll, and obviously for reasons, probably not wanting Raggedy Ann to be in this franchise, they changed the doll to be this wooden, almost like ventriloquist style doll. The thing's huge. First of all.
Yeah,
right?
Stupid huge.
Yeah. Yeah, and the last rant I will go on, for the babysitter's friend having never been in that house and having close to the janitor's keys on her, she was able to pick the right key for the right lock anywhere she went into that house first try.
Oh yeah, immediately.
Immediately. I'm like, what the hell? Like, I mean, there's at least 15 keys on there. There's no way she's picking every lock the first time.
It's magic.
And lastly, I guess, again, if they're coming to the house once a week to bless Annabelle, why aren't you blessing everything else in that room? Why is everything not behind glass?
Right.
Everything's just there to touch. Like, oh, because if the girl's able to touch it and it briefly brings something out, they're going to be elbowing and moving stuff around to place new artifacts. They're going to be touching these haunted artifacts again and again and again in real life.
Right.
So their logic and reasoning behind these things makes zero sense. So
fair.
Right. This is why we're doing these movies the way they are, because you haven't seen The Nun. I haven't seen La Llorona, and we're going to go see The Nun too. I don't have high expectations.
Not at all. Zero.
So, I will go first. A number of useless crucifixes out of 10. Hold on, why give these other ones? Yeah, this is definitely 1 for me. This movie, unnecessary, awful. Annabelle needs to die in the Conjuring universe. At least try to destroy it, please.
Right.
How about you?
Jeez. 0.75 useless crucifixes.
So slightly better than Devil May Do It, but slightly worse than The Conjuring 2.
Yes.
Yeah. And yeah, so I'll just bring us out unless you got anything else to add about the Annabelle.
No, it's all you.
Okay. So, with that being said, she is no part of Sister Act. Save that white wedding dress for your second wedding. Join us as we conclude at this point in time the Conjuring universe, because more are coming out. As I said, we're going to finish it with The Curse of La Llorona, The Nun, and The Nun 2. I don't think I've ever been as disappointed watching a franchise as we have as this universe. So make sure to join us next time. And remember, we watch bad movies, so you don't have to. And this has been Graveyard saying, have you checked on the children?
This is Salem saying, long live the new flesh.
Good night.